Wait, you have ADHD? Yeah, I was diagnosed when I was 10. I mean, are you sure? So many doctors misdiagnose kids. Plus, you seem way too smart to have it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So you're saying that I can't be smart? That's not what I meant. I mean, you just really seem like you have things together, you know? Plus, I feel like you would say squirrel a lot more often if you had it, you know? Yeah. A lot of us have to mask. Do you know what masking is? No? Well, we have to hide our traits and the way we communicate to fit more into neurotypical ways. Because a lot of the times growing up, we deal with trauma from people trying to tell us that we don't fit in, that we're not doing things correctly, that we're messy, too loud, the list goes on. So we're tired when we put on a mask. Wow, that must be exhausting. Yeah, it is.
Welcome back to 41 Hacks that help people with ADD/ADHD work and feel better. We're back with part 2 because there were just so many helpful hacks packed into this disrespectfully long article that I just couldn't resist. Our first helpful hack is have a calendar or planner with you at all times. And this may blow your mind, but I do. And sometimes I even write down tasks in it, but that has no effect on the execution of said task. Put aside your cell phone when you are busy. No, I don't want to. Don't let the internet become a distraction. Do you get distracted easily? Have you considered not getting distracted easily? If you think of something, write it down immediately. I do this on the various pieces of scrap paper, unopened mail, and sticky notes around my room, never to be found again. Multitasking is your enemy. Some people can do this, you cannot. That line inexplicably filled me with rage, so challenge accepted. And finally, don't let your active brain cheat you out of sleep. And the advice in the fine print, go back to sleep. And on that note, good night.
Welcome to Weird Things That I Do That May or May Not Be Related to My ADHD, Part 9. And I am convinced this one will be relatable. So for my people out there that did not get diagnosed with ADHD until later on in life, I have a question. When you were in school and you took tests, did you take tests very quickly? Also, my chicken's done in the air fryer. I've mentioned it before, but I literally survived high school just off of test grades. I barely ever did homework, and when I did, I turned it in late. But my test scores were really good, and I took tests very quickly. I was almost always the first one to finish, and I never took that advice the teachers always gave to look back at your answers to make sure you answered them right. I literally just flew through the test in one go and turned it in. Then I was stuck there doing nothing for the rest of the class, which totally sucked. It really sucked on standardized tests like the ACT, but that's how I did it. Anybody else? Hit the plus sign for more awkwardly relatable content about ADHD and my weird brain.
Hey, we're out again. I'm going to the store now. Hey! Hi! Hello! What are you doing? Just browsing? I say this with every bit of love in my heart, but you do not need another obscure musical instrument. Come on, it's super cool. I will use it all the time. Remind me how many times you've played this hurdy-gurdy. This is completely different. Or this guitar. I have very small hands. I honestly forgot I owned that until we started filming this video. We both know that you're gonna hyperfixate on this for 2 weeks and then give up when you're not instantly good at it. Okay, fine.
You know me. No, I don't!
Why is starting new relationships so hard for people with ADHD? You know how we can hyperfixate on different things? It's not just for hobbies or random projects, that's actually for people too. People can be the dopamine fix that you're looking for sometimes. Okay, that makes sense. So you can get really attached to people very quickly. That can lead to unhealthy attachments and unrealistic expectations from the other person. And if it falls short, if you have rejection sensitive dysphoria, that can lead to a really bad situation for your mental health. So what do I do? Well, at least being aware of it helps you combat some of those tendencies. Anything else? Well, if you feel comfortable enough with the other person, maybe communicating some of those things to them so that they don't think that you're kind of crazy. Communication is important. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the most important thing.
Running away, it's the living that's hot, hot. Running away, it's the living that's hot, hot.
Fuck you, my child is completely fine.
Sometimes it's a heavy burden being a man of science.
I know what you mean, Jimmy. That's why I decided early on to sabotage my highly scientific mind with cartoons and sugar.
I got my sights set on you, and I'm ready to aim. The last time I freaked out, I just kept looking down. I just stuttered when you asked me what I'm thinking about. Felt like I couldn't breathe. You asked what's wrong with me. My best friend Leslie said, oh, she just being my.
Also heard a lot of people talk about grief processing and how ADHD can affect that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel that. My mother's birthday is coming up in about a week or so. I think she would be 63? I don't remember. But we lost her in 2015. I arrived to the hospital 10 minutes after it happened. I was in the room, and it still took me a couple of months to process. And when I finally did, I broke hard. See, she and I weren't very close. A lot of that burden rests on my shoulders. So while I'm finally getting around to processing the grief of the loss, the depression is treating me like a punching bag. Fast forward a couple of years and then object permanence kicks in. So I go lengthy periods not even thinking about her. And then when I finally do, back to the punching bag because I feel guilty. So to say that we process grief differently, it's a bit of an understatement.
ADHD people, did you know if you drink more water, it makes it easier for your stomach to have more coffee in it? So if you drink more water, it helps you to be able to drink more coffee.
Man, it sure sucks when that hyperfocus wears off mid-project. Especially if the project is big. You know, like a mural.
Can't stop the spirits when they need you.
Brothers and sisters are natural enemies, like Englishmen and Scots, or Welshmen and Scots, or Japanese and Scots, or Scots and other Scots. Damn Scots!
3 things that drastically improved since finding out that I'm autistic with ADHD. There are many, but I'll start here. Number 1 is having much more self-compassion and forgiveness. To know that you're not the one that needs fixing like you've been led to believe. It's not your fault that many people around you don't question the way things are done. Number 2 is guilt-free indulgence in special interests. I'm a huge sci-fi and fantasy fan, and I loved playing MMORPGs growing up, and I kind of pressure myself out of it, but now I have full permission to deep dive back into all of that. Number 3 is being more in tune with your body, and therefore understand which situations are not beneficial at all to you and will probably lead to chronic stress and illness. Now when I choose not to participate in something, it's out of self-respect and love, not because of a lack of capability. In other words, just because I can doesn't mean that I want to or should.
Did you order a pizza? We have so much food. We just spent all day making food. Pizza sounded good. And they were eating it on the show.
What to use instead of motivation if you have ADHD. Now, motivation isn't super reliable for anybody, but particularly if you have ADHD. That's because we have less activity going on in our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that thinks about the future, not just the right now. We kind of only care about the right now. Instead, try implementing systems and accountability. Right now, let's just talk about systems. Systems make things automated and repeatable. You have to find a system that works specifically for you. I'll be sharing lots of different ideas for systems, but if it doesn't resonate with you, just move past it and find one that works for you. The system that works for my husband and I to plan meals is I pick 2 meals and he picks 2 meals per week. Those we cook for dinner, and we always make enough for leftovers so that we can have lunch the next day. That's our little system, and it's so easy, so repeatable, and I only have to plan and cook 2 meals. I'll do a part 2 so that next time we can talk about accountability. What to use instead of motivation if you have ADHD, part 2. Accountability. There's a reason you hear this over and over and over again. This is very individualized, so you've got to find the type of accountability that works for you. Here are 3 types of accountability you can try. Number 1, financial. If you don't show up, it's going to cost you something. Here are a few examples. Number 2, relationships and community. If you don't show up and do the thing you said you were gonna do, then you might hurt somebody else. Here are some examples of that one. And number 3, reputation. If you don't do the thing you said you were gonna do, then it might harm your reputation. A couple examples of that one. Tell us in the comments ways that you build in accountability in your life, because you guys have such good ideas. P.S. bonus tip for motivation, music. Music, it always works. I don't know why.
It was always the plan to put the world in your hand. Could I interest you in everything all of the time?
I don't know which depressed neurodivergent person needs to hear this, but today would be a good day to take care of the moldy thing in our rooms we've been putting off dealing with. No shame, I'm personally nursing a cup of green tea who's been doing everything in her power for the past 2 weeks to turn into kombucha. I just think it's time for me to stop inhaling whatever magic she's creating. Do yourself a favor. On the way out of your room, grab some other dirty cups and plates to put in the sink. And on the way back, bring yourself a fresh cup of water. The cup of water will inexplicably be full of mold in 2 weeks from now, but you can take care of it then. I love you. Have a good day.
I am aware that I am an asshole. I really don't care.
Different moods of music with ADHD. Listening to the same song on repeat for about 72 hours straight. Absolutely no sound, complete silence. Don't even breathe. I need all the noise, put the music on full blast. The music must be loud enough to drown out any internal volume so I can hear that one productive thought. Music has to be just loud enough that I can hear it, but quiet enough that I forget that it's on, and can't get distracted by the changing song. Changes the song every 0.2 seconds. Shuffle, skip, switch playlist. A new playlist that's just a slight variation of the existing playlist, it's been 5 hours. That and going from one genre to the other. From metal to classical music, maybe on over to rap, just everything. Does anyone else relate to that at all? Or...
Dude, what's beeping and what's up with all the sticky notes? I have to externalize things like time and memory. What do you mean? Well, since my executive function is trash, I have to turn everything mental into physical. Huh? So like I have all these clocks and alarms because I have no internal clock. Oh, so when you say out of sight, out of mind, you don't just mean your car keys. Exactly. So like with memory, I have to put the key things I'm supposed to be doing onto something physical and keep it in my field of view. Or else the task doesn't exist in my brain. So that explains the sticky notes. Yep, gotta keep it in my sight so it stays in my mind. Could you apply that to motivation? Oh yeah, I just need physical accountability, more consequences, and more rewards. That's why body doubling works. Because even if the accountability is artificial, it still gets me motivated. How do you not get burnt out and overwhelmed? Yeah, so since the performance side of my brain depletes really fast, I have to refuel the executive function. How do you refuel? There's many ways, but you can take 3-minute breaks every 10 minutes. Exercise refuels it, rewards and self-encouragement. So what do ADHD meds do? Makes the fuel tank bigger. And how I don't get overwhelmed is I split a big task into smaller tasks that are more manageable.
As time ticks by, still I try. No rest for cross-chops in my mind. On my own, here we go.
You gotta stop comparing yourself to others. Yeah, I know, but I have ADHD. What does that have to do with it? People with ADHD, especially people with late diagnosis like me, are statistically more likely to have low self-esteem and poor self-image. So it's not rejection-sensitive dysphoria? No, that too.
So yesterday I had the pleasure of sitting in on an ADHD webinar. It was hosted by 2 psychiatrists and they shared some research and some clinical experience. And the intended audience was clinical professionals treating ADHD. And I want to share with you something that I noticed. They both talked about emotional dysregulation being one of the most negatively impactful parts of ADHD for their clients. And this was so validating for me to hear. Because even though emotional dysregulation isn't listed as one of the diagnostic criteria in the DSM, it is very much something that I and a lot of other people with ADHD struggle with. So it was so nice to hear 2 clinical and research professionals acknowledging this and discussing this. And the great news that they shared is that emotional dysregulation does improve with treatment.
Do you see yourself as an extroverted introvert? Because every interaction leaves you drained. Does your social battery have trouble holding charge? Frequent headaches? Did you know this could be due to masking? Masking is when you restrain parts of yourself or your behavior in a chameleon-like attempt to hide your quirks and blend right in. Common side effects include the loss of a central identity or confusion over a sense of self, anxiety over the thought of separate social spheres clashing. Next time you navigate the muddled social waters, look for the slight hesitation before you speak or move, the resulting acute panic followed by a verification check you conduct to make sure nobody noticed your near slip up. Don't let you hold you back. Try active introspection. It works by stopping the spread of before it infects the rest of your social life. Consult your doctor to see if active introspection is the right choice for you.
Hey, hi, hello. You're not supposed to be up this late, but you're up, and I'm up, so let's hang out for a second. One of the things that keeps me up a lot is the idea that I don't feel like I've done enough today. Like, I need to do more. I should have been more productive. I should have gotten more done. And maybe some days that's true. But what I often lose sight of is that my successes and my self-worth do not have to be defined by my productivity. Because sometimes success is just getting out of bed. Sometimes success is being there for a friend. Sometimes success is admitting that you're not okay. Not every accomplishment and not every success results in some tangible proof of productivity. So I want to let you know that today, you did enough. What you did and how you did it was precisely enough. So go to sleep. Things will be there in the morning. But for tonight, be proud of what you accomplished today.